Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, a safe and sacred place to be vulnerable, to be transparent, to be authentic. I am your host, Tisha Michelle. From the deep pain and loss of my best friend Gloria, I realized she gave me the greatest gift ever, remembering my purpose in life, which is to help connect you to your authentic self, guide you to remember your purpose, and remind you that your current circumstance doesn't define who you are. Join me as we heal, align, and glow together. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Seeing with Your Soul. I'm your host, Tisha Michelle. So 3 things that I'm grateful for in this present moment. So the first thing I would say is this pain that I've been having in my right shoulder for the past 2 days, right? So if you've been, vibing with me for a while, you would have heard me say this plenty of times, like what's going on like externally, like in our body is a manifestation of something that's going on internally. So I'm grateful for the pain that's it's like my right shoulder and like the right side of my neck. It's like combined and it hurts so bad. But I know that that's my body's way of letting me know that there's something that I need to pay attention to. So I'm not really sure like what burden that I'm carrying and I'm holding it in that area, which is now causing me pain. I don't know if it's my burden or I don't know if it belongs to someone else. Like, I don't know, but I'm grateful for it because as I'm massaging it myself, since I can't go get a massage, massaging it like myself, connecting and getting more, in tune with my body to really understand what do you want me to look at? Like, where do I need to work through some stuff so I can release it from there? So I'm super grateful for that, just to have that connection and understanding with my body and knowing that nothing's wrong with my body. I'm not worn out or getting old or anything. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do, to let us know when we need to pay attention to something. So the second thing that I will say that I am grateful for in this present moment is a recent client that I had that asked me a question after our session. So when our session was over with, she said, if you don't mind me asking, she was like, have you had to like experience something that spirit then like helped to guide you through? And I thought that was super cool that she even like asked me a question, right? And with me answering that question to her, it was 2 things that came about from that. One, it reminded me of like my strength and my growth and the things that I've overcome. And then 2, it also reminded me like of the importance of us, like sharing like our experiences with other people. So people will like, pay money to work with you because you offer this. And they also want to know that like you're human like them and that you've actually experienced some of these things. And I tell people all the time, I believe that the greatest teacher is experience. So when I'm teaching from something or even certain things are coming through, it's like I've also experienced it, right? So I can relate to you. Like I can honestly say like I know how you feel because I've been there. I've been through that. So I was super grateful for her. So if you're listening, shout out to you. The third thing that I would say that I am grateful for right now in this present moment would be the transition that I'm in the middle of. And transitioning to where? I don't know. I feel it. And so I know that I'm going through another spiritual awakening and I'm grateful for it because that means I'm leveling up. So even though I don't know where and like how and all of that stuff, that's really none of my business. I'm super grateful for it because like I said, I know that I'm leveling up. I'm evolving and I'm growing and I'm super excited to see like where this is pushing me to. So if you are driving, please do not do this, right? You can just come back to the podcast later, or just skip past this, like or whatever, but just don't do this, right? So for those of you who aren't driving, I want you to close your eyes, right? And I want you to take a deep breath. And you're just going to go ahead and just breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Last time. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Good. You just grounded and centered yourself. So now in your head or out loud, whatever it's your preference, I want you to list the 3 things that you're grateful for, like in this present moment. Good, 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 good. So it's so important to express like our gratitude to what it is that we're grateful for in our life, like those miracles, those blessings, sometimes the things that we take for granted. It allows us to raise our vibration. And when we raise our vibration, it connects us even more to, God, source, the universe, whichever that you can, you relate to. And when we're vibing so high, we're able to receive so many more of these downloads and these messages and the blueprint and all that. So it's super, super important to just express your gratitude. So it seems lately like there's been like this theme with like my clients. So whenever I notice that there's a theme, like, whoa, wait a minute, like these last 3 clients, this particular thing has come up with them. So when that happens, I know that that's Spirit's way of talking to me. So the first thing that I do when that happens is I check in with my body, because our body will never lie to us. And I'll say something like, okay, is this an invitation for me to look at this part within myself, right? And then once I check in and I say like, no, that's not that. Or is this something that more people are experiencing? And now it's time for me to spread that message. And I spread that message through a video or a podcast or both, right? So here I am recording a podcast. So what's been coming up lately with my past few sessions have been their inner child. Their inner child has been surfacing, right? So I'm going to talk for a little bit like all about our inner child. So I do want you guys to know that things that I say may trigger things for you, may make you emotional. And if it is a trigger for you, that's great, because triggers are invitations for us to look at something that needs our attention and needs to, be healed and released, right? So just know that you may get emotional, right? And again, trigger, right? This is just letting you know that it's time now to pay attention to your inner child so that you can go through that process of healing, so you can step into like the best version of yourself. So even if things are coming up and you are feeling some type of way, I want you to make sure that you are expressing compassion for yourself and loving all over yourself while you are listening to this podcast and certain things are coming up for you, right? So what is our inner child, right? So it's the child that you once were, right? So it's that child that's been influenced by your environment, the experiences you had, the people closest to you. And then like our inner child stored those memories or stored those beliefs and also the impact that it had on you. So, it's the child in you that as an adult that you fail to even acknowledge, right? So it's said that Carl Jung was the one who coined the term like inner child, right? So as a child, we're very impressionable, right? And we don't have discernment yet or even know how to handle or communicate our feelings or our emotions. So we can easily get hurt. We can easily be like bruised or wounded. And again, like our inner child, like stored all of those experiences and then it traveled with us into this thing called adulthood, right? So for example, as a child, you may have been made to feel unsafe, which then shows like why as an adult, like now you're afraid to just be yourself, right? Because as a child, you were made to feel unsafe. So like examples, maybe you were taught that it wasn't okay to have your own opinion. Stay in a child's place, right? Even though you had something to say, it was stay in a child's place. Or maybe you were punished when like trying to speak up, or if you were acting different. And if you could see me, I'm doing my air quotes. Like if you were acting differently than what was perceived as like normal, right? As the majority of the people. Or maybe you were like discouraged from playing or having fun. This is not the time to play. There's people all around struggling, or go sit down, stop running through this house, or you think everything is a joke. Things like that, right? Or you weren't allowed to like express your strong emotions like anger, right? So maybe you threw something, right? Maybe you got mad and you broke something. So then now you got punished for that. Or maybe it was just being like happy. What you smiling at? There's nothing funny. So as a child, again, we don't have discernment. We don't know what to do with those emotions and stuff. So maybe we throw something because we just don't know, right? Like as a child, we just don't know, but now we're punished for that. Or maybe you were always verbally criticized. Maybe you had like a guardian or parent that was just always criticizing everything that you did, right? Or you were made to feel responsible for your parents' level of happiness, right? Or maybe you were physically beat. You were spanked or you were smacked. And this is not to say, oh, don't spank your children. Or I hear people all the time like, my parents or my grandparents used to beat me and like, I'm fine. And this and that. That is, of course, as a parent, that is your choice. That is your preference. But as a child, if we're being beat and smacked for something, that we did, what is that really teaching us? What is that really teaching us, right? Because then as a child, you're beat, you're spanked, whatever that it is for something that you did. But yet your parents are, but I love you, but I still love you. So then we're taught that that's what love is. And then when people are in like domestic abuse, like relationships, the first thing they say, but he loves me. And that was because that's what they were taught. So now, by no means am I picking on any of our parents or our grandparents or those guardians about this, because really they didn't know any better. They were doing like the best that they could do. And if they felt that that's how they needed to discipline you and you were going to, get the message and loud and clear was to like beat you, then that's what they like chose to do. So everybody's journey and everybody's process is different, but we all have our inner child that's wounded and needs to be healed, right? Or maybe you weren't given like physical like affection. Your parents didn't give out hugs or like kisses or do any like cuddling or anything of that sort, right? And all those things, again, our inner child is storing them, in our subconscious mind. So there's 3 types of childhood neglect, right? And you may have experienced 1 or you may have experienced 2 or maybe all of them. Or so we have emotional neglect. And this is like where our guardians or our parents, they didn't show like any interest like in your emotional needs, like love or protection or guidance. And because of that, now as an adult, you've developed like low self-worth or low self-esteem. Maybe you even started like ignoring your own emotional needs, or you learned to hide from them, avoid it, repress those emotions and act as if like they were never there, right? And then we have our psychological, right? So at this point now, we have our psychological neglect. And this is really where it comes into like our parents or our guardians, like they didn't listen to us. They didn't embrace or like nurture who you were, right? So then as you started to grow older, you may have things such as like, again, it'll go to like the low self-esteem issues. And that could have been due to like forms of abuse, like being put down or having like these overly high expectations, being rejected or constantly punished. You may have even like developed like some like deep anger issues. And that's because of those things from our childhood that were unresolved, those traumas, or not having that ability to like love yourself. And you may even have problems like in sustaining like healthy and like respectful relationships due to that psychological neglect. And then the third is like physical. So then that's where it's like the physical neglect. So if we're like not, again, like being like shown that we're protected, and that's like with food, like our shelter, like those basic needs, that just loving, right? That loving like affection. Then at that point, we'll have like that low self-worth that will turn into like physical neglect or abuse of ourselves. Maybe having some people have eating disorders, right? So now they're not able to like maintain like a healthy, I don't really like to use the word diet, but like a healthy diet for themselves. Sometimes people will have then turn into like have addictions to like alcohol or even food or drugs, violence. And sometimes it can even be like sexual dysfunction or being, promiscuous, like putting yourself really out there. And a lot of times that also can come from being like sexually abused. Yeah, so it's emotional neglect, psychological neglect, and physical neglect. So, you may have experienced some of those things and it's just carried over to your adulthood. So I think it's super important for us to understand our inner child. So in order to even like, heal from these things that's going on like with us, like we have to understand where they came from, how they came from, like why are they there? So we can get to the root of it, right? So some signs that you may have a wounded child, and this is not all of them, this is just some. You may feel like something is wrong with you, like deep down inside, you're like, something's wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're perfect. You are absolutely perfect. You may experience anxiety anytime that you're outside of your comfort zone. And this is where you get to ask yourself, why? Why am I so uncomfortable? Why am I having anxiety? Like, what am I afraid of? Where does this fear come from? You may be a people pleaser. Why is it that everyone else is more important than yourself? Where did that come from? You know, you might hoard like your emotions and then have a hard time letting go. Why? Why are you holding on to things? Why are you holding on to people, right? You may even feel like you just really just don't have a strong sense of any type of identity. It's like, who am I? Like, who am I? You may even feel inadequate, right? And this is for men and this is for women. You can get to this point where you're always criticizing yourself, right? And not only are you criticizing yourself, but you also are unforgiving. Like, you may like forgive so many people in your life for doing things that were, you know, not so nice and, you know, and wrong or whatever, but you don't forgive yourself. And you don't have like this level of compassion for yourself where you may feel like, I shouldn't have let this happen, or I should be doing this, or I should have done better, you know, and you're putting all of that on yourself and you're not willing to like forgive yourself, but you're willing to maybe even forgive other people. You might have abandonment issues, you know, and when you have these abandonment issues and then you cling to these relationships, and these are the relationships in your life that you know you need to let go of and to release. And this is where like that codependency comes in. And what else? There's so many. Oh, you might have a hard time trusting people, right? Having a hard time trusting people, opening up to people, and also even being open to receiving love. Big one right there. So again, it's super important for us to like reconnect to our inner child and provide healing, right? Because this allows us to access those fragmented parts. And when I say fragmented, meaning like those parts that are in pieces, so that we're able to get to the core and to the root of like, where is this fear coming from? Where are these insecurities coming from? Why is it that we feel like we're so stuck and we're just not able to like really move forward like in our life, right? So the question is now, you're probably like, yes, I can relate to some of those things. I can relate to all of them. I knew that there was something that was going on with me, but I didn't have a name to put to it. I didn't know that this thing about this inner child. I just thought that the inner child was just like, stop acting like a kid, you know, or you're just a child. You need to grow up. And it's like, no, our inner child is that wounded little girl, that wounded little boy that's inside of us and wants this healing so bad, right? So again, how do we do this? So inner child work is deep. It's very deep and it's intimate and it's a journey, you know, so there's a lot of different things that you can do to start that journey of healing. And sometimes you have to do a bunch of them, or sometimes you need a little bit of each and everything, and or you find that this is really working well for you. So I just want to touch on like some of them, right? So first, I would say like we always want to connect to your inner child, right? So how do you connect to your inner child? This is where you start to go down like memory lane, right? So you can do this as like a journal and get you a notebook, right? And you can hear like some questions. So like as a child, I would daydream about, and then fill in the blank. So when you were a kid, what did you used to daydream about? Or as a child, like what was your favorite activity? What was it? What did you like to do as a kid? Or, you know, sometimes it'd be like, oh my gosh, when I was a kid, I would spend hours playing with ... What is it? What was the thing that you could play, you know, hours with? Also, this is a pretty deep one. Like, what is the earliest childhood memory that you have? And just go with that thing that pops in your mind. And see, for me, this has always been really interesting when it comes to the inner child. So I don't remember my childhood. It's really vague of things that I, you know, remember. And I'd be so envious. I have this one friend and he knows like everything. He'd be like, yeah, because I remember when I was 6 years old and I remember when I was 7 and we did this and that. And I'm like, that is so dope. Like, I don't remember my childhood and I don't know why even till this day now. So I've done inner child work. I still like to do it as things come up. I don't remember my childhood. So I have to do like these questions and stuff too. And then and a lot of times I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember what I used to daydream. I really just don't. So to me, that's an indication of what happened in my childhood that was just so buried down that I don't even remember, you know, much at all. And that's something that I have to keep revisiting as it comes to the surface in something. So it's not something that I need to fully spend a whole lot of time on, you know, as I'm moving forward. But when certain things come up, it will take me down that memory lane to really start to connect. So as you're, you know, answering those questions, like notice how it is that you feel, you know, when you're going down memory lane. Are you scared? Are you happy? Does it feel good? Like you just really notice, because this is you, like you starting to connect, to acknowledge that, you know, you do have this inner child that's within you. Another thing you can do is write a letter to your inner child. Now, this could be in the form of an apology, you apologizing to your inner child because you don't even allow yourself to really acknowledge it or even like have fun or anything. Or maybe you write this letter just stating that you're talking to your inner child saying like, I know you're there. I know you're here. And I want to build a better relationship with you. And really the key to this is really just being free when you're writing. So as you're writing, you're not getting all logical. You're just speaking from your heart, right? Coming from that heart center. Another thing you can do is allow yourself to have fun. Play like a kid. Like if you have children, it's super easy. Just go play with them, right? Just be just carefree and just nothing else matters other than you just having fun. Go blow some bubbles. I tell my clients that all the time. I'm like, go get some bubbles. Bubbles are like the stupidest little thing. You just blow this bubble and you just watch it and then you wait for it to pop and then everybody just busts out laughing, right? So silly and simple, but yet really, really powerful. So our inner child wants to know that he or she is safe and is loved and protected and can have fun. Most of the time, if I ask people, I'm like, oh my God, what do you like to do for fun? They're either like, say something like, oh, I like to go to the movies. I'm like, that's not fun. So try again. Or you know what? I don't know. I don't remember the last time that I had fun, So think about it like, when was the last time you had fun? When was the last time you just flat out laughed like hysterically, just cracking up and nothing else mattered other than what was super funny or what you were doing for fun. So that's definitely a way to nurture our inner child, is to have fun. Another way you can have a hypnosis session, and that could be strictly on the inner child. And those of you that do not know, I am a certified hypnotist. So I do these all the time. And what it is, you're in that state of deep relaxation, and we're going to bring those memories to the surface so that they can be healed, released, and then replaced with new stories, right? So hypnosis is a great way. Also, it's giving your inner child like what she or he needs to hear. And I'll give you some examples. Like our inner child needs to know that you love her or him. So this is saying, I love you. You can say this in the mirror because as a child, you may not have heard this from your parents. Or if you believe that you didn't get good grades or make this particular team, or maybe, if you decided not to be like your older sibling, then that meant that you wasn't lovable. So our inner child needs to know that you love her or him. So you want to stand in the mirror and say, I love you. I love you. And it may feel uncomfortable and you keep saying it and saying it and saying it until your subconscious mind believes it, because subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and imaginative. So we always want to tell our inner child, I love you. And I say this all the time. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to be heard, which is why I did my Just a Conversation in Brunch when I launched that a year ago, because I'm like, everybody wants to be heard. So especially our inner child. Our inner child may have been told, like, quit crying, like, stop crying. What you crying for? Which then makes you feel like that's a weak thing, or I'm going to give you something to cry about. So our inner child needs to hear us say, I hear you. And guess what? We're going to get through this together. Everything is going to be okay. Right? So that's what our inner child wants. It wants to be heard. So acknowledge, say, I hear you. I hear you. Whenever you have this anxiety, whenever you're being super codependent, whenever you're feeling unsafe, say, I hear you. I hear you. We're going to do this together. And we're going to get through this. And guess what? Everything is going to be okay, because it will. Also, like, as a child, we were quick to believe that we deserve to be treated, that particular way. Like saying we were bad and that we did something wrong. So our inner child needs to hear, you did not deserve this, right? How many times something will happen in our life and be like, no, but somebody will curse us out, or I don't even want to say curse us out. Anybody ever cursed me out? But if you ever cursed out, or someone just did something to you and you're like, you know what? They went off on me and it was crazy, but you know what? I deserved it. No one deserves that. No one deserves that. So that stems from as a child where you felt like you were bad, right? And you were bad and you deserved that. And then it just carried over into adulthood. What else does our inner child want to hear? So we could be extremely hard on ourselves, right? So we're super hard on ourselves. And I talked about this before, no compassion and forgiving. So our inner child was send some love and compassion and let your inner child know that you're sorry. So just something as simple and as powerful as I'm sorry. I am sorry. Oh, this one, I get this a lot with people where like as a child, you felt like you wasn't good enough. So like your inner child may want to hear you did your best, right? So maybe as a child, everything that you did was never good enough for your parent because it was always something that said, so maybe you got like an A, like, oh my God, or you got like a B, like, oh my God, like I got a B. And your parents were like, yeah, but it should have been an A. Why didn't you get an A? You can always go up. So like whatever it is that you do, or you got second place, like, yeah, but why didn't you get first? So like no matter what it was that you did, you were always made to feel as if you weren't good enough. And then this always goes back, like I said, to just as a child, we don't have discernment. We don't know what to do with those things. So we take it to heart. So if someone is like, some form of like abuse, whether it's like physical or emotional or anything, doing those things to us, because as a child, as we're seeing, like, oh my God, this is happening to us. Something must be wrong with me. And that's like one of the top things with it is that we feel like something is wrong with us. Because why else would someone treat us like that? Why else would someone silence us? And like I said, that's a huge thing. And I want each and every one of you to know there's nothing wrong with you. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. And, as a child, we're shushed and we're told to stay in a child's place. We're told to be quiet, to stop talking. And then you wonder why, as an adult, like you're afraid to use your voice. You're afraid to speak up. And you know how people will say, like, no one's going to want it. Who wants to hear what I have to say? Well, that comes from the child, because as a child, you were always told, nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. Be quiet. Be quiet. And again, as a child, we don't know what to do with that. We don't know how to separate that. So then we take it all and we store it and then we just keep rolling with it like in our life. I know for me, I have to be super, super careful. Like with my youngest one, where I will say, you always got something to say. And like, I'm so mindful, I'll catch myself. I'm like, shit, I'm going to jack him all up, because he doesn't know how to process and really truly understand what it is that I'm saying. And I just feel like he always got something to say. Like, if he's not to be on the video game and I'm like, okay, get on the video game at 1:00 and it's 12:45 and I'm like, hey, you can get on the game. And he's like, but it's not 1. I'm like, yo, you always got something to say. Just get on a daggone game. So, that's just like an example. But like when I'm saying that, I'm not trying to like silence him and I don't want him to like speak his truth or anything. It was just like low key, like annoying, right? But he doesn't get that. He doesn't get that. So if I was to keep saying that, that's being drilled into there. It's like you always got something to say. So guess what? You then don't say anything. You then begin to silence yourself. So it's so important, especially as parents now, that we're starting to really awaken to, our inner child and our subconscious mind and how impressionable like children are. It's really important for us to be very, very mindful of what it is that we're saying to like our children, because they're storing it all in there. They're storing it all in there. And, don't let this like freak you out. Like, oh my God. It's just really expressing yourself more when we're talking to like our children to help them to really understand what it is that we're saying to them. So again, I'll go back to like what I said. It's not to like beat up on like our parents and be like, yo, y'all jacked us the hell up. But it's really just more of like, they didn't know any better. And we don't give anybody passes and stuff, for real. But they just didn't know any better. This is where the whole generational curses go, right? Because the cycle keeps going and going and going, where people will say, well, this is what my parents did for me and I turned out fine. So I'm going to do this like with my kids. And it's like, did you really turn out fine? What does that mean? What does that mean? Where's your fears and your insecurities at? Is that fine? Are you a people pleaser? Which means you're putting everybody before you because you're telling yourself and everyone else that you don't matter and you're not important because other people are more important. Or do you have a hard time crying and you keep those emotions inside of you because you were told, quit crying. What you crying for? I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give you something to cry about, which then put fear into you. So then you were afraid to cry. So now as an adult, you just keep holding it in. You're just saying to the world, like, I'm okay. I'm good. And then one day you just crack. And this whole floodgates of tears and memories and everything just comes through and you can't handle it. So if you want to know why you do the things that you do, just look at your childhood. Look back at your childhood. Our subconscious mind is who we really are, and our conscious mind is what we do. So yeah. So like I mentioned, inner child work is so necessary, guys. It's so necessary. It's needed so we can move forward and we can operate from a place of love and operate as the best version of ourselves. So if this resonated with you and like you're ready to go deeper and like explore your inner child so that you can heal and you can release and just making sense of things. I definitely do inner child work. So you can book a session with me over on my website, which is www.healalignedglow. The glow is GLO.com. Also, if you haven't already, you can connect with me over on IG, and that's at Mindset Slayer. That's honestly where I've been showing up a lot more and doing videos and just posting, just hanging out and all that good stuff, right? So this episode may have been a little heavy for some of you guys, and just know that that's okay. That's okay. That's your body reacting to something like, yes, 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 yes. This is where we can best serve ourselves, is going down that rabbit hole, going down that memory lane. This episode may just be like, yeah, nope, I'm good. That's also you resisting something. So it's always an invitation, but it's your process, it's your journey, and it's whenever it is that you're ready. So I will say that it's not that easy doing inner child work because it's painful. We're reliving like these memories and this pain as a child that we just didn't know what to do with it then. And now we're this whole adult with a whole bunch of other things going on in our life. And now we got to go down memory lane. What? But it's so necessary and it's so powerful and it's so freeing. So, however, I hope me explaining and giving some examples of this stuff, it helped you guys. As always, I'm holding space for those who need it, as well as I'm sending you all love and I'm sending you all healing. And until next time, bye guys. Thanks for tuning in to #certified. If anything resonated with you, I would love to continue the conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at @itistisha. And if you want to be a part of the #certified tribe, you can join my Facebook group by going to the search tab and putting in #certified. My website is conversationswithtisha.com. As always, have a great one on purpose. Love you.